also can prophesize the future. And I also can see subliminal messaging.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Miss Pillsbury's slow girl. Now, I'm
Well, really? I'm pretty sure I could truck the shit out of you, you fucking overgrown baby.
Dude, whatever you're smoking, buy a ton of it.
I'm the greatest smack talker on the fucking face of the earth right now.
Possibility of women playing in the league, I don't think it's impossible.
You fucking punk ass bitch!
Jesus Christ, that hurt. I'm still gonna
I'm fucking real, bro. You ain't shit.
Well, this is smacking off. If you don't like it, change your diaper and leave.
Don't be ridiculous right now, okay?
I'd rather watch softcore porn than have to watch all that.
No, that's how you make coke. You have to be there, you gotta cross it.
Bro, who invited this dude, bro? What the fuck? Get this dude out of here, bro.
No, USC is far better than Oklahoma historically.
Oh, your meatloaf is moist as my pussy gets. I promise you that.
Okay.
Oh shit, this has turned into King Arthur's drug class.
How long?
They need you back at the cash register in 5 minutes.
Well, Tiggy's life type minus the entertainment value.
Smack off. Smacking Off the podcast is starting in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
And welcome back to Smacking Off the podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Madden. I'm joined with Doug Phillips, my co-host and producer. What's up, Doug? We were talking about honky tonk off air. The graphic that you have up there. Doug was pointing out the fact that until he researched and got this graphic, he did not know that the Honky Tonk Man was indeed tag team partners for a short while with Randy Macho Man Savage.
Yep.
Yeah, that was an important time.
That's
in
my
wrestling.
goat right there is Randy Macho Man.
That was an important time in wrestling, and wrestling's still
in the history of the world. Really.
Wrestling's still a big deal, but I really don't know. I want to say probably maybe audience member for audience member, the WWF was just a little bit bigger than what we see in WWE.
It was
today.
in my brain because I was at that age, so
yeah,
can't go back.
No, you really can't.
You can, but the wife frowns upon it.
I don't know. The storylines have just gotten a little bit more, fantastic these days. I have a harder time keeping up with it than I did back in the day when I was, about 12, 13 years old.
And I knew it was fake. And I used to watch sometimes with my friends and their parents. And there was several of my friends who had parents who actually believed it.
Yeah.
They were like, that son of a bitch.
Oh, well, we live here in the South, and there's still some of the older people still will defend it to this day, even though they've been to a match and they saw somebody kind of make, a swing and it missed just a little bit and the person fell over like they were dead.
Yeah.
That's the way I found out. I actually went to a WWF event. I want to say that Macho Man was there. Everybody was there but the Hulk, because the Hulk was he was Elvis Presley at the time. I mean, he was a superstar.
He was the real deal.
So he didn't come just anywhere. And this is before they televised all the matches and every single place that they went. What they would do is they would set up cameras and then they would record a couple of the matches, particularly if the matches were really hot contests at the time. And they would, broadcast them a little bit later on. Well, we caught up with so-and-so, and they were wrestling in Birmingham. That's where we live. And we went, I can't remember who was actually on stage. He was actually the one that did it. It may have been one of the Hart brothers. I can't remember. Anvil Neidhart maybe had made a swing at somebody. No, it was Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Had made a swing at somebody, and it was so fucking wide it wasn't even funny. And where we were sitting, we were eye level with the stage, so we weren't right at the stage, but we were a few rows back and a few rows up, so we had eye level.
Kind of disappointing, wasn't it?
It was. It was. I was 11 at the time, but at the same time, it didn't deter me. Not until I was probably about 13.
It was entertainment. I mean, but
oh God, it was entertainment.
But I was always entertained by the people who bought it completely. I mean,
oh yeah,
they were the ones that made it. It was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe, we've talked about Andy Kaufman's role in wrestling there
in the
for
Memphis
a minute.
League, yeah.
In the Memphis League, which was really.
It used to be a regional thing.
Yeah, it was a regional thing, and he turned it suddenly into a national thing because national media were interested in the fact that Andy Kaufman had gone to Memphis to wrestle. Yep. He had just was on the number one or one of the top shows at the time, Taxi, and he'd done all of this other. Stand-up stuff, and had been considered for movie roles, and was Mr. Hollywood, which is kind of the heel turn that he made, that he was from Hollywood and he was better than all the Southern folks.
I don't
He
know.
was amazing.
I can still watch that shit over and over.
One of the best heels in the history of wrestling.
Yeah, he
period.
actually changed the way it was done in a lot of ways.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But anyway,
Bobby the Brain Heenan learned a lot from him, I think.
I like Heenan.
Oh man, Heenan was amazing.
He's still alive.
Yeah. But I mean, in his heyday though, when he was on TV,
he wrestled a little bit.
A little bit.
We got a Wildcat coming on first.
What's up?
We're gonna talk about the fact that Kentucky.
So Bob Arthur's coming on?
No.
Oh.
Mike Richardson.
Wow.
Let's
Okay.
hit him.
Cool. Yeah, let's do that.
We're going to talk about the fact that Kentucky's not getting a fucking ounce of credit.
Kentucky football is just it came out of nowhere. I mean, I guess for us, for Kentucky fans, it's been a big thing. But Mike Richardson, how are you doing?
I'm all right, sir. About yourself?
Man, we're just sitting there just blown away by the fact that, Kentucky football's a thing now. I mean, it's a really, really, really big thing. And, of course, you're a Kentucky fan.
Yes, sir.
And have a lot more to say on this particular topic. But for me as an Alabama fan, it's just it's so cool to see Kentucky emerge on the scene.
But
like
at the same time, they're getting picked by Athlon, I think, to win 5 games.
Yeah.
So that's that whole mentality that Kentucky can't
to
win.
win 5 games coming off the season that they had last
That's
year.
that mentality that Kentucky can't have a 10-win season and follow it up with anything.
Unless they've got 1 or 2 marquee players, which they did last year.
Athlon had us picked to only win 5 games last year, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in other words, stay away from Athlon if I'm going to use it to influence my bet as far as who's going to win the SEC East, right?
Right.
Do you honestly think, and seriously, all bullshit aside, do you honestly think that Kentucky should be considered as a contender for the East?
Well, as far as the East goes, man, really, in my opinion, of course, you got Georgia, Florida, and then I believe us. I really do believe, as of right now, we are the top 3 programs as far as the East goes.
I can't argue with that.
I can't either.
Not until I see something that trends the other way.
Yeah.
I will tell you, after the conversation we had last year, you guys said something that rung completely true, man. That's all I thought about after this, man, because after we lost to Georgia past season, we went to freaking Neyland and lost to a team we had no business freaking losing to.
Yeah. Georgia beat you twice.
Georgia beat us twice.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. But it is what it is. That's last year. Let's talk about the upcoming season. We have 2 very, very key players that are gone that were just a massive part of the program last year.
It's going to be rough to replace. You're talking about Benny Snell and Josh Allen.
Absolutely.
But we're going to in regards to Snell, we're going to find out is the success that he had last year. Is it all Benny Snell, or was there some shit going on the line that's still going to be going on?
Yeah.
I believe our offense, man, is going to look completely different from what it did last year, too, in my personal opinion.
Think we're going to be throwing the ball more often?
Well, we got, A.J. Rose is going to be our returning running back. A.J. Rose is completely different from Benny Snell. Benny Snell was a bruiser. A.J. Rose isn't. And we all know from watching Terry Wilson ain't the best quarterback in the SEC anywhere close. But he's fast.
Who's Johnson? Robert Arthur is mentioning somebody named Johnson.
Hey.
For Kentucky.
He was talking about his Johnson that he's holding in his hand right now.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Robert, we'll talk about your Johnson later.
Yeah.
The guy that I think is going to end up breaking on the scene as far as running back is probably going to be Cavassier Smoke.
Interesting. Robert Arthur just mentioned him about the moment that you mentioned him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cavassier Smoke is built like Benny Snell. He runs like Benny Snell, but he's also faster than Benny. But he's also a freshman.
Does this ring a bell? Lonnie Johnson.
Lonnie Johnson just got drafted.
Oh, so there, Robert Arthur's he's a year behind this situation here.
No, he's probably actually he's talking about it being a big loss.
Oh, yeah, Copenhagen stuff.
Oh, as far as defense goes, man, outside of Josh Allen, man, losing Mike Edwards is going to hurt. Mike Edwards was underrated when it came to being in the secondary and as much tackling as he brought to our defense. As far as DBs go, man, he was not scared to come up and hit anybody. we're looking to see if Brandon Eccles probably be the one to take his place and see whether or not he can fill his shoes and come up and hit when he needs to.
How you feel about Florida coming up to Lexington after y'all finally got a win over Florida after 31 mistries?
Yeah, that was a huge win.
It's going to be an interesting game.
Huge win over a very good Florida team.
A lot of eyes going to be on that game because, because of
I look at it like this. We've had Felipe Frank's number since he's been at Florida.
Mm-hmm.
The year before last, we had Florida beat 2 until they switched quarterbacks and took Felipe Franks out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, Franks is going to grow just like anybody else is, but I do believe Stoops is more or less, as far as the culture and mentality goes at Kentucky, I think he's finally shook it out of everybody's head that, we can beat whoever we want if we come out and play. And, we've got the people there to do it. I do believe Florida's going to come in. They're going to be quite pissed off. I'm sure it's going to be a really big game. But I do believe our guys are going to be able to handle it. I believe either way it goes, win, lose, however, it's going to be very close.
Well, I'm just going to say this. Looking over the schedule, I think that Kentucky can lose to Florida and still end up with 8 or 9 wins.
Well, 10 wins. Because if you go to ukathletics.com, they have the spring game listed as an actual game. I really like this. Kentucky beat the dog shit out of Kentucky 64-10. So,
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It was 64-10?
64-10, baby. Read them week.
Oh, looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Well,
so there's I don't know. That's I don't know for a spring game score though. That's not necessarily the score you want to see.
It doesn't bode too well for your defense.
Yeah, there's some depth issues there. Usually is usually the way
the defense went on a field trip. They were playing the scout team defense.
Yeah. Well, they should have been hitting the quarterback a lot harder, I think.
We do still return Cash Daniel, which is, in my personal opinion, Josh Allen was, of course, our playmaker, but I think Cash Daniel was the heart and soul of our defense. He's the one that got everybody whipped up and got them ready to hit and ready to play. And he's pretty much already came out. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but he actually went and said, to people to make all these polls for the preseason polls and everything else, the ESPN analysts and everything, they're all just jackasses because they don't know what they're talking about anyway.
Sure.
Well, let me quote Tyler Scott, who's watching the podcast at the moment. He says Kentucky will have a down year this year.
He's a writer for Athlon. Yeah.
I don't know. No, he's actually coming on the podcast next week. I believe Tyler Scott's a LSU guy, but I think that he's just a big college football fan in general because he's actually offered to represent teams all the way to the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
Well, let me tell you, our first game of the season is going to tell the story of how our secondary is going to respond because we lost a lot of our secondary. And, of course, we're playing Toledo. Don't get me wrong. We should beat Toledo. But historically, Toledo also likes to air the ball out.
True. Very true. Toledo's not a pushover team. They typically field, if I correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say that they usually field 8-9 win teams.
They're max, right?
Yeah, they're max.
But if they get out there, it was just like our game last year. Whenever we played Central Michigan to start off with, we looked shitty when we came out and played them in the beginning. It took them until the second half to really kind of start playing football the way we were supposed to, But I think if we do that playing against Toledo, honestly, we could find ourselves in trouble. Depending on what our secondary does. But we've also got some big recruits that came in, transfers and stuff like that came in on the defensive side of the ball.
Man, I'm still sick from 2018, the trip to College Station, because Kentucky they were in the game right up till the very end, and I really felt like they were going to win it right there in the last stretch.
That was the dumbest play call I think we had all season. Why would you need 3 yards and you do not hand the ball to Benny Snell? Had to have been the dumbest play call we had all season.
But you know how that goes. You hand it to Benny Snell, and everybody stacks his ass up, and then it's like, why do you hand it to Benny Snell? Because that's what they're going to be expecting, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's no right move in
well,
that.
no, the right move is the one that works. But
yeah, true.
But I tell you this too. You look at that whole game. We were in that game right up until the end, and if I'm not mistaken, Benny only had 6 or 7 carries in that game.
Yeah, and
we didn't hand him the ball hardly at all.
Yeah, that's not going to work. I mean, especially a guy that is just about going to give you a first down almost, every possession. If you just keep feeding him the ball, that's it. That's pretty much about the size of it. But let's fast forward through the schedule a little bit. Of course, you got Florida at home. That's cool. But then you've got to travel to Mississippi State and South Carolina, and both of those teams are really, it's kind of schizophrenic as far as the way they're going to go. Of course, Mississippi State is playing with a new coach now. South Carolina will probably be playing with a new coach for too terribly long. I mean,
that's the story of any place that Muskrat goes.
Yeah, I don't know. Will's got to be one of the biggest disappointments for that the leap from assistant coach to head coach. In the SEC.
If Saban's going to hunker down and go till he's like 78 years old, I feel like him and Muskrat's going to cross paths again.
Yeah.
Muschamp's a hell of a coordinator. He's a shitty head coach.
That's about the size of it. Of course, a lot of people are saying that further down the schedule because you guys have to travel to Georgia. I'm kind of overlooking Arkansas because Arkansas is really just not all that. A minimal amount of defense should be able to take care of Arkansas.
Mississippi State lost a lot on their front line too. We beat them this last year,
28-7.
I think
it was one of those games that was really close, and it kind of exploded right there.
It's fucking cowbells though. God, oh man, because they're playing that one in Starkville, and there's the cowbells will be rather loud on that one. They're gonna remember that loss last year.
Well, and then you go to South Carolina, man. I mean, I don't see any reason why we should lose to South Carolina. I mean, I think if anything, it should be 6 years in a row we've beat them now. But I don't see anything out of South Carolina to make me think otherwise. Really,
no big moves in the offseason. No like amazingly touted recruits coming in. Nothing like that.
I remember last year you were pretty
another ho-hum year at South Carolina.
It was the first time we'd ever had you on, Mike, and you were very confident about Kentucky, but you would not make that leap to say that they were going to win the East. You kind of said it, but when it come down to it, you wouldn't say it.
Well, because again, at the beginning of last season or early in last season, we really thought that South Carolina was going to be a lot more last year than they wound up being.
So, what do you think about that this year? I mean, do you think is this the year that y'all really got a shot to get into the?
Let's see. We got Arkansas. We got Georgia. You host Missouri at home. You host Tennessee at home. Revenge match. Then you got a brutal one after that though at Vanderbilt.
Well, I mean, I truly believe we build off of what we did last year. Like I say, in my personal opinion, it's nothing but a 3-team race.
I don't think that y'all will beat Florida and Georgia, but I think looking at the schedules, I think there is a possibility that you get in a 3-way tie with each of you having 2 conference losses. And
we were in a tie with Florida last year. Whenever it came to the end of the season, we finished with the exact same record. Somehow Florida ended up right. That pissed me off more than anything. Because Florida ended up, rated ahead of us after we beat them.
Yeah.
Which that sucked, but that's just how it goes.
It is what it is. I think when it gets down to that point, then they start looking at score totals, or how do they do that?
Well, I don't know. As far as when it's tied up, I mean, there's head-to-head. If there's a 3-way,
typically head-to-head usually solves that right out of the gate.
It does, unless there's a 3-way tie.
Yeah.
And then.
But I guess it goes down to it. I mean, Florida's bad loss was probably us, where our bad loss was probably Tennessee.
Yep.
You know, so I guess it's whose bad loss was worse, I guess.
Well, I don't know. Well, Georgia had it, so. But you're talking about if it would have been between you and Florida, y'all. Kentucky and Florida.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
I got you.
You know, like I say, man, if we come out and we beat Florida again, which, I mean, you know, I don't want to jinx myself because, I mean, like I say, I've only seen it happen one time in my lifetime, but I mean, I think it's entirely possible. But I mean, I think if we do beat Florida, I think we'll beat Georgia.
Well, I don't know if you'll have to. Because if you look at Georgia's schedule, if Georgia's your only conference loss, and it's possible, Georgia may have 2 conference losses, and it won't matter that they beat you.
I got a sneaking suspicion about the Georgia-Auburn game this year. I don't know. I have a weird primitive. And
You've been reading all them Easterwood posts.
Not only that, but the sheer fact that Auburn has not picked a Heisman winner from their squad yet this year, that just lends me to believe Auburn fans are just way too fucking quiet. Way too quiet. There have been a few of them post up, but for the most part, though,
Holloman's going to be bad.
And usually in Auburn, a very quiet Auburn fan base at the beginning of the year, that can spell disaster on down the line. It really can be.
Disaster for who?
Disaster for the rest of the SEC as a whole, or at least as far as anybody that has to face them and the consequences that it.
Alabama has to go there and Georgia has to go there.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's setting up like it did.
And I'm not saying that they will. I just, for some reason or another, the Auburn Georgia game, I've got that one circled.
It's all to do with their quarterback, in my opinion.
Well, and both of the coaches have kind of gotten a little bit of disrespect coming into the season. Of course, I think Malzahn has been richly earned. Kirby, I don't know. You've already heard some whispers and rumors and a little bit of doubt, not necessarily from the Georgia fan base, but from the people that follow this game.
Looks very similar to Rick.
Looks almost exactly like Rick, who was a great coach at Georgia.
Yeah.
He didn't do so
until Saban got it to Alabama and then kind of quieted it down. But.
Yeah, that's just the way it kind of works right now. It's Alabama and everybody else.
So Mike, what's your Kentucky team going to do this year? Are you ready to lay down some numbers?
I personally think our floor. Our floor is going to be 8 wins, but I'm trending more towards at least another 10-win season just because of the way our schedule's set up.
If you can get the 10 wins before the bowl game.
You've got 2 tune-up games going into the Florida game, which you're hosting at home. And if you win that game, that gives you a lot of momentum for the 2 away games, Mississippi State and South Carolina, which both are easily winnable games, should be. You're headed back home to face Arkansas. That should be no problem. Right out of the gate, there's no reason that Kentucky should not be 5-1, 6-0 going into the middle of the season, going into that Georgia game.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and that right there, that's a lot of momentum going into that Georgia game. 5-1, 6-0 squad. That there's a lot of heart there going into Athens.
Yep.
Well, and even as that too, you look at Missouri, look past Georgia and look at Missouri and everything. I still think,
which you do play at home, so.
I don't think Kelly Bryant is going to be what everybody thinks he's going to be. In my personal opinion, I think Drew Lock, as far as a quarterback goes, was a better quarterback, and he never, he couldn't beat us.
I agree.
So, and he had better weapons around him.
Yeah, Missouri just doesn't have a top-to-bottom complete team. And then, of course, you got Tennessee at home.
I think we'll thump them this year. I'm saying we win that by 3 touchdowns.
What's your ceiling for this team? You think 10 wins?
10 wins.
Yep. 10 wins before bowl game could mean a trip to the SEC championship game.
And 11 wins will be serious consideration for national championship.
Georgia's going to have
depending on what everybody else is doing.
Georgia's going to have a hard time staying out of the 2-loss conference in the conference column.
Yeah, true.
Because they've got to go. They've got A&M. They've got LSU. They've got Auburn. It's just going to be. It's going to be it's a rough road for Georgia. Much harder for Georgia than Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Our schedule this year, man, it's
set up good.
Easier than what it was last year, man. Granted, like I say, this year, man, just, keep your eye out for people. Josh Pascal returning from having cancer. He didn't play all last year. He's going to be one of the guys that's going to step up for us on defense. DeAndre Square, Brandon Eccles, Devontae Robinson moving in, playing, full-time safety. I mean, we're not losing as much as what everybody thinks we are. Yes, we lost 2 big components, but I mean, we also returned Drake Jackson playing center. We got Landon Young coming back on our offensive line, not to mention rotational guys. They weren't our starters last year, but I mean, we've got plenty of experience left coming back to us.
Tyler Scott is asking, is he on this Sunday?
Not today. No.
Not today.
Tyler, you're not
Unless
on.
your name is Mike Richardson. No, you're not.
You're not on
right
today. You're on next Sunday.
Next Sunday. But it's coming, buddy. It's coming. We can't wait.
Man, I'm ready for it.
Well,
yeah, man, I'm going to tell you what. This has been a long fucking summer, dude. I am so ready for football.
A long summer. It just started.
I know.
That's
the worst part about it. We still got like 3 more months of this shit.
We had some like 90 high 90 days in spring.
Now, where we're at, we're in the the 50s now as far as number of days that we have until college
50
football.
50 something, yeah.
Yeah, 50 something. So 50. Yeah.
It can't get here quick enough.
No, it can't. No, it can't. There's plenty more dank memes.
All right, Mike, you're coming on the SEC segment, aren't you?
Sweet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't remember who else is on that. I don't have that in front of me, but
SEC
Mike will be one of them. Mike, we're going to take a break and bring on Sean afterwards, and we really appreciate you coming
Oh man,
on.
yeah, it's been a great chat, dude. I can't wait.
Hey man, thanks for having me on, guys.
Take care, brother.
All right, brother.
I can't type. I don't take dictation. I won't sharpen pencils. I can't file. My boss calls me indispensable.
Miss Jones,
Just a minute.
will you make a copy of this?
Naturally. I push the button on the Xerox 914. I make perfect copies of whatever my boss needs by just turning a knob and pushing a button. Anything he can see, I can copy in black and white on ordinary paper. And am I fast? I can make 7 copies a minute. By the way, I never need wet chemicals. My 914 is a dry machine, powder dry. Sometimes my boss asks me which is the original, and sometimes I don't know. Here, Mr. Smith, I'm going to lunch with Mother.
You are now listening to Smacking Off the Podcast. Tune in every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Fuck each and every one of you that don't.
Ooh, I'm good. Step away from the beer. Just stay calm, step away from the beer. These hands are licensed weapons.
They were shooting a commercial for Labatt's Breweries. They had a storyboard. They didn't have any set design in mind. There was nothing. There was no illustration. They just came to me and said they wanted 5 Sasquatch, Bigfoot costumes, and were made in such a way that they could be snowboarded in. We love what we do.
Glacier Fresh Kokanee. I'm gonna have to go undercover. Sweet mother of pearl. Glacier Fresh Kokanee.
And we're back on Smacking Off, the podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Madden. I'm joined with Doug Phillips, and we've got one of our old friends of the show. Guy's been on quite a bit, Mr. Sean Devine. What's up, homie?
Shannon and Doug, great to talk to you gentlemen, as always.
What's going on with you, man? I can talk to you in a bit.
Man, he's got a project he's working on that he told me about before.
Yes,
actually,
I am.
Go ahead and tell us about it, Sean.
So I'm building a week by week for the regular season college football, the best 3 games that everybody needs to tune into, and a why as to they're the best 3 games for each week. And I'm doing detailed research as to why they are. So you'll have narrative.
Hey, you want an intro song for it and everything, and come on weekly?
We should do an intro song for this.
Yeah.
Polish off the old guitar and do a song.
That'd be outstanding. I mean, it's I'm about 3 weeks in, and it's taken some time. Obviously, I have to work, but we all do. But when I have free time, I try to do the research, and ultimately I'll email you and.
Man, I'm looking forward to that one, but I hate to tell you this, but that wasn't the project I was talking about. I'm talking about the project of getting to every every Power 5 stadium in the country.
Yeah, fuck Boise State.
That continues. That is a continuing project.
Absolutely. And where have you been?
Oh man.
I mean, we know you've been to South Bend.
Well, let's start like this. Instead of just going down the list. What was the most incredible stadium experience you've witnessed so far?
Outside of South Bend.
Outside of South Bend, I gotta say, me and Timothy Bailey went to the game last year, Michigan Ohio State, and
wow,
that was at Columbus. That was outstanding. I mean, just absolutely. We were 20 rows behind the Buckeye bench.
Oh wow, you could spit on the back of their heads.
Just a caveat. We were at the night before. We were at the Oklahoma-West Virginia game in Morgantown, and I got a bug up my butt after the game. I said, because Tim lives in Ohio, and I was flying out of Columbus. I said, I got some time. What are you doing tomorrow? And he said nothing. I said, let's just go to the Michigan-Ohio State game. And I went on, grabbed some tickets. Shockingly, they were fairly reasonably priced. I was shocked for a stadium that's.
Well, they wanted to be crammed to the gills, and I'm sure if they still had some tickets to sell, they wanted to make sure it was a full sellout for the TV cameras.
And it was, but I was shocked that tickets were still fairly reasonably priced.
Well, that's Michigan's fault, so.
It really was. It really was because
True story.
I think in our section, I saw maybe one person in maize and blue. I mean, it was mostly a sea of red that whole day.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's his best Nixon.
And it was incredible. We saw Script, Ohio, before the game, and then obviously the game itself. Ohio State just beat the living tar out of them because Jim, aka Booger, refused to leave the man-to-man coverage, and Ohio State was crushing them on the crossing routes. Just devastating. Just anytime there was a big play, it was a crossing route, man-to-man coverage, and Ohio State's wide receivers were far more capable than Michigan's defensive backs. That's why you had the score you obviously saw. But I mean, the size and scope of the horseshoe, just walking up to it, you truly feel tiny.
A lot of history there. A lot of history.
Changing the subject just for a second.
That would be my favorite outside of South Bend.
I've got to admire this picture that I grabbed off of your Facebook.
You're still digging this, aren't you?
Yes. You're doing the Nixon pose.
Yeah, I'm not a crook.
I was at a wedding, yeah, and they needed photos.
Did you know you were doing the Nixon pose, or did you just accidentally do it?
Oh, I knew I was doing the Nixon pose. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They told us to do a pose. That was the first thing that came to my head because we were getting into a large bus of some sort. So, yeah, that.
Before we get into any more...
I did that also back in 2009 when I was getting on a plane to go to Iraq. They took pictures of us before we got on the plane. I did that too. So I don't know. I just love the Nixon pose. But
gotcha.
I'm not a crook pose.
Before we get into any more football, I got to plug this.
An outstanding man, I might add.
Maybe.
Yeah, he will.
Elvis and Nixon, the movie. I don't know who's seen it.
I knew this was going to come up.
It's got to. Because Kevin Spacey plays the best Nixon ever played.
Ironic, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe. The dude that played Elvis didn't do that great, but
didn't Nixon appoint Elvis as part of his drug task force?
Yeah.
He should have.
Yeah,
I mean, I would have.
He did. Elvis was an expert in drugs.
He was.
Yeah. All the way up until the day he died on the toilet. Yeah.
On the throne.
On the throne.
Yeah.
I really wish we could play that Living Color song, Elvis is Dead, right now. I love that song so much. I really do.
If we did.
It's got Little Richard in it.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Sampled?
No. They brought Little Richard into the studio, and he does like a rap line down toward the middle of the song, toward the end of the song.
Wow.
But it's a really nice message though, because he's like, just let the man die, please. That's the whole that's the whole like crux of the song, and I think that's fair.
And I think it's fair too, but we know he's not dead. I mean,
yeah, of course,
he lives in Kalamazoo.
Now you don't have the kind of money that Elvis had at the time. I mean, I know the Colonel did take a lot of it, but Elvis still had a little bit of money left.
He's running a gas station. I think Kalamazoo, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I always thought he'd go to Central America, that same island that Biggie and Tupac.
Why would he
on.
do that when he can live peacefully in Kalamazoo
or Arkansas? They'd love him in Arkansas.
In Lonoke County?
Yeah, Lonoke County.
Gotcha. All right, where else have you been? We know that y'all did go to Oklahoma, West Virginia, too, right after that.
Yeah,
right?
So the night before, we were at the Oklahoma at West Virginia game in Morgantown.
Yeah.
Great environment. Definitely difficult to get around the campus. I mean, you're in the mountains, so I mean, the streets are not. It's not grid at all. So
I've always wanted to ask this because I've heard quite the opposite for years and years and years. What are the women in West Virginia like? Were there any hotties? In
what did you hear the opposite of?
I would say
West Virginia,
they're better than most Big Ten crowds, but certainly not an SEC crowd. If you're catching my drift.
Oh yeah, SEC football, particularly like Florida games. There's a lot of hotties there. No two ways around it.
Not bad compared to what we see in Big Ten country, because it's cold in Big Ten country.
A lot of dogs up there, huh?
I'd say 60-40. For every 6 good-looking babes, you'd see 4 that were just train wrecks. So, but not bad.
Yeah, we don't let stuff like that in the stadium down here.
No, it's 95.
There's TV cameras in there. We don't want to be represented
Sean,
any worse than we already are.
Let's just go conference by conference, and you can tell us which stadiums you've been in.
Sure. So most of my work, as you know, had me living in the Big Ten country. So most of my stadiums are in the Big Ten. So we'll knock them out, and I'm including some NFL stadiums that I've seen college games in. So, seen Ohio State, seen Michigan State.
You're talking about indoor stadiums,
huh?
Indoor stadiums.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Illinois, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Minnesota. Iowa. So a lot of the Big Ten I've knocked out. Let's see, Soldier Field for the Notre Dame Miami game back in 12. Let's see, conference wise, the SEC is probably other than the ACC. The ACC I've not seen any games in yet, just due to where I live.
There's no need. There's none. Just go visit Clemson, and you pretty much knocked out the whole conference.
The SEC, I've seen three games in the SEC. LSU, Missouri, and Texas A&M is what I've seen in the SEC. The best of the 3, LSU.
It's New Orleans. You were probably shit-faced drunk before you got to the game.
New Orleans.
We did. We spent Friday in New Orleans.
Oh, that's right. LSU, Baton Rouge. I don't know.
Probably
what I was
very
thinking.
similar though.
Well, LSU plays a lot in New Orleans, though. And it's not far from New Orleans either.
Saturday we went to Baton Rouge, and that was back when I was in college. And the school I went to was an FCS school. We were paid to play, get our ass kicked. and they welcomed us with open arms, and every tailgate was have a drink,
what was your team?
Fight. I went to school at Western Illinois University.
Okay.
So it's a crappy school, but I went there for free, so that's why I went there.
Yeah, that's a great experience. Anytime you can go to school for free, it's pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, now I look back, I regret I should have just paid and went to either ND or U of I, Illinois. But
would it made any difference in your life from the path you've chosen? Probably not. Just you could say you went.
Well, just as I think back, the education I received there was probably not top notch from the professors we had. But no, it was fun. I'm
bunch of liberal snowflakes.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna get Sean Devine to make a political statement.
Well, we're both. It's kind of funny because both Doug and I are not politically affiliated at all. We're neither Republican or Democrat, so you can answer with confidence.
Devine plans on running for office at some point, and he ain't gonna fuck it up on a goddamn podcast.
I wish I could run for office.
No, I'm not. No, that I have no interest in that. Not one bit.
I got
you. I'm remiss. I forgot. Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska, was one I left out for the Big Ten. I've been there too. Second best I've been to in the Big Ten.
And they were in the Big Ten at the time?
They were not. They were not in the Big Ten at the time.
Okay.
But that was the when Notre Dame visited Nebraska back in, that was either 2000 or 2001. And the Sea of Red is true.
I got a feeling that you're fixing to start doing some Pac games.
I am. I have one for sure lined up. Our good friend Bruce Martinez, who's in Family Smack, lives out here, as I've just recently moved to the Pacific Northwest, just outside of Seattle.
Have y'all got together?
Oh, wow, you're up in Seattle now. Yeah, you're up in Tiggy country.
I am. I just moved this past spring from Wisconsin to
Lucky
Washington
dog.
State.
I seriously considered moving to the Seattle area or the SeaTac area to go stay with a buddy of mine who's also contributed on the show, S.M. Gibson.
Did it floor you when you realized that Tiggy was on the water tank? Tiggy's image?
A little bit, but Tiggy, he's growing on me a little bit like athlete's foot.
Yeah, like a genital.
Tiggy's a young guy. Tiggy's under 20 still.
You need to look Tiggy up, though. Seriously, you need to see if you can't get together and have a drink with him.
I got to give him credit for what he did with that Colorado-Nebraska tweet. That was pretty damn good.
Oh man, he's given Nebraska some kind of fits lately with between the shoes, auctioning off Scott Frost stolen shoes. And then of course now the what he talked about last week, getting the news guy all riled up on the fake tweet.
Have you got together with Bruce since you've been up there?
Yeah, I absolutely have. I've had lunch and I've had brunch with Bruce.
Oh wow, man, this is great. Our group is bringing people together. I love this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great guy, big Washington fan, and we're excited. We're going to see Oregon at Washington this fall, and
oh wow, that's going to be a great game.
We're still looking at the schedule. I don't know what Bruce's plans are. I would like to try to travel down to Oregon and see a Ducks game at Autzen, and then I know they're going to be shitty, but even the Ducks in Corvallis, just to knock Reser Stadium off my to-do list.
I heard Corvallis is a wonderful, wonderful place. It's a very, very beautiful little town.
Everything's beautiful. I mean, it's 82 degrees out right now. Slight breeze. It's the weather hasn't been better since I've gotten out here.
Yeah.
It's absolutely perfect. Yeah, a little rain, but it's not cold. It's upper 40s, low 50s when it rains.
How far out are you from Seattle, like minute-wise?
Drive about 45 minutes.
Oh, it's not too bad. Yeah.
No.
Traffic up there is not really horrible. It's really not. If you learn a town, you can navigate through there pretty easily and stay off the interstate altogether.
Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get behind somebody in a Walmart or something one day. It's going to be a big, tall guy. And you're not going to realize until you hear him talk that you're behind Tiggy.
Bruh. Yeah, it said that this underwear was $10.99, bro. Yeah.
So
that's how it's going down. If it happens, you need to snap a picture of it.
Yeah, you got to. And tell him to eat some dog shit.
Tiggy Domes. With his picture. Yeah, I'd love to know what he actually looks like in real life. That'd be That'd be interesting.
We've actually seen him. There is a
I
picture. There is a picture that was floating around at one point in time.
Until Tiggy's people went out and grabbed it.
Yeah, and I think it was on one of his other backup profiles. He had actually put an old picture of him, and he's a really, really tall, skinny fella. I bet he played basketball in high school. I'm serious. He's a tall dude. Everybody keeps talking that shit, and Tiggy's gonna come up on him and whoop that ass. Seriously.
He might, but I don't. You know.
Bro.
As far as Pac-12 schools, just two knocked out. Arizona State, not for an Arizona State game, back when Sun Devil Stadium used to host the Fiesta Bowl, knocked that out. And Arizona State's campus is right by there. Great campus. I mean, you talk about a program that should be dominant, should be powerful, is Arizona State. I mean, they got it all. I mean, they got great weather. They got a great stadium. It's a great state to be in. Beautiful women. You know, all the sort of story that the guys were telling me there is that the California ladies that can't get into USC or UCLA go to Arizona State. So. And I'm not going to disagree with them because
Arizona State for the longest time, and of course they Arizona State so much so that they had to kind of dispute it. But it seemed like every other porn star that was emerging onto the scene had either graduated or attended Arizona State. So they were known there for a little while as the porn university, and of course the officials at Arizona State did not appreciate that, which I think would actually be a huge. It would be something I'd put in the brochure. I mean, think about it. I mean, who's not going to go to Porn U?
I mean, it'll break your neck out in Arizona. The only thing that it reminded me of was SEC country, because there were just absolutely so many beautiful women wandering around Arizona State's campus. And then their stadium is surrounded on three sides by bars that are just and these bars are 3-story bars with balcony as far as you can see.
A lot of drinking going on there. Yeah, party school.
It's just insane, and they should be good. I mean, they other than their head coach, but
you don't like Herm, do you?
I don't think he's a college head. I don't think that's what you're looking for. I mean, he's a better Lovie Smith. I mean, Illinois is trying that with a former NFL coach, and it's certainly not working. I think you need
that was the government tapping in.
I think you need a true college coach but I mean, Arizona State should be better than what they are. I mean, they kind of proved it last year by beating Michigan State.
They've had some damn good teams at times. I mean, if we had this conversation, was it last week with Austin Parish?
Yeah.
And you remember it, Sean, and was it 1996? They were just a cunt hair. Can I use that?
Oh, yeah, you can say cunt.
Oh, they were.
We totally.
They were just a cunt hair from making Actually,
I think they ran out of time with Plummer driving against Ohio State in that Rose Bowl.
Well,
I mean, they were
You take the Pac Big Rose Alliance out of the equation, and they're probably playing Florida State for the national championship.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I mean, yeah. If we had a playoff back then, I mean, gosh, the '90s would have been great if we had a playoff.
Oh, yep. Absolutely, man. There's some good football
Doug's been going through them. I mean,
you can get some conversation going with it sometimes, and that's why. I mean, I'm not really interested in what would have happened because there's no way to actually. It messes with my mind to really. When I actually put that stuff out, I don't do a lot of deep thinking on it because it's frustrating. It's frustrating to do so.
Well, you're damn right. The other Pac-12, obviously Notre Dame, USC, been to the Coliseum. When I went, it was many years ago. I know they're doing renovations on it, but when I went, it was kind of a decrepit. I mean, it hosted the 28 or 32 Olympics. Obviously, it hosted the 84 Olympics, but I mean, it's a cavernous bowl. Seats, I want to say, if they take the tarps off, 98,000. USC can't sell it out now. They were in the heyday of Pete Carroll days. The Rams can't, so they're playing there too until their stadium gets done. it's a huge bowl. I mean, it's a big bowl. It just goes as high as the eye can see. But nothing other than that that really impressed me. And it's in what I would consider not the greatest part of Los Angeles. And then, of course, just getting to Los Angeles is kind of pain in the ass, flying into LAX and, getting a hotel and then getting over there. Once you get on USC's campus, though, it's a gated campus. It's very pretty. They really do a nice job. And a trip to Heritage Hall is important. I mean, you can take your picture with OJ's Heisman. It's still there.
You mean he didn't try to steal it back?
No, it's still well. Every Heisman winner, the player gets one and the school gets one.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, still though, he should have when he was like really hard up, he should have just went on the campus and straight up took it. And so like, look, man, if it weren't for me, y'all wouldn't even have this trophy.
He
so
probably
I'm
wouldn't have did any
back.
more time than he did.
No, he definitely wouldn't have. They kind of threw him under the bus for that one.
Big 12 only knocked out 2 stadiums in the Big 12. Kansas, I was in Lawrence for work, and who the hell they play? It was a non-conference game. They shockingly they won. It was against some, podunk school. Nothing to write home about for Kansas. I know they're thinking about renovating it and kind of do better.
Well, they got it. They got a real coach down there now. Come on, don't be like that about Les. How are you going to turn your back on Les Miles like that? Seriously,
it's not Les' fault they haven't put any money into their football program.
True.
I mean, traditionally they're a basketball program, but they do have some great players from Kansas in the history of football. Gale Sayers, Kansas Comet, NFL Hall of Famer, and then John Riggins of Redskins fame is a Kansas alum. So, but they could certainly do better.
Bubba Smith
for a Power 5 school, it reminded me of a really deluxe high school stadium. I'll just be honest.
Right.
You said Bubba Smith, right?
Yeah, Bubba Smith was
Hightower.
Yeah.
No. Bubba Smith was Michigan State.
That's what I just said. Yeah. Let's do this, Sean.
Yeah.
How many games you plan on going to this season alone?
I'm doing for sure 4.
Have you already?
We're doing the other Big 12 stadium I went to was Texas. When I was stationed at Fort Hood, Texas, we went down, saw Texas beat I think it was UTEP in a non-conference game. That was another massive stadium. They're planning another upgrade to become the biggest stadium in the country here. If they finish one of the end zones, it should boost them. The Darrell K. Roy will be about 115,000, I think. So, and that was great. That was a great environment. Obviously, a blue blood. But the 4 games I'm going to this fall for certain. First one, Notre Dame at Athens in Georgia.
Wow.
Very excited.
Between the hedges,
yeah.
Hey, you want to talk about a lot of hot chicks? Oh my gosh,
we've been
dude. They are crawling down in Athens. That's all the Georgia peach. Yeah, you'll get to see exactly where that phrase comes from. I was just thinking about our time in Athens. Doug and myself played a show down there one weekend, and they were doing some kind of debutante ball. Oh my God! And we were like, guys were a minority there in Athens, there in their little entertainment district. And man, I'm gonna tell you what, there's some lovely ladies in Georgia. No 2 ways around it.
Well, it's unfortunately it's a business trip.
Well, I mean, but there's plenty of business to get into down there. You know what I'm saying?
I hope, but first and foremost, going to be wearing green, and we're hoping to come out of there with a W. Big game, huge game,
very big game. For both teams.
I'm looking forward to that one.
It's a statement game for both programs. Both for Kirby and for Brian Kelly. Kirby trying to get back to the SEC championship game and the CFP, and Brian Kelly trying to prove that he can actually follow up a great season with another great season. He's not done that before during his time in Notre Dame. Obviously, the year we played Bama, you guys kicked our ass in the championship game.
Roll
Next
Tide.
year followed up with 8-5, and then 2015.
Yep.
Had a great year. Played Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl. Lost. and the next year we bottomed out at 4-8. So it's a big year for Bryant Kelly to prove that
that he can do it 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
he can do it multiple years in a row.
Yep.
But we got 4 minutes left, so let's talk about the other 3 games that you're going to check out.
So the other 3 games,
he mentioned one of them.
I already mentioned Oregon coming to Washington.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
Obviously, it's going to decide, to me, the Pac-12 North.
Yep.
I don't think Shaw is going to get it turned around yet this year at Stanford, so I really think that's going to be the Pac-12 North kind of title game.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be exciting. Obviously, at Husky Stadium, which is one of the most beautiful stadiums, right there on the water. Fans are on the boats tailgating, so that's great. The next one, me and Tim Bailey are going to the Red River rivalry game in Dallas.
Oh wow, that's going to be so much fun.
We're excited. And the state fair is going on at the same time, so hopefully I don't die of a coronary because I'm eating too much deep fried everything.
Yeah, they got some good food there, man.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
And
additional, neutral site game at the old Cotton Bowl.
If Oklahoma loses, you're going to have to hear Tim for how long?
He'll be upset.
Probably another day,
right?
In person, but for most of the season, when we have phone calls. So, for my sake, I hope Oklahoma wins that game. But that'll be exciting. And then last one, Virginia Tech at Notre Dame. I do usually one game a year in South Bend. That's going to be the one this year. Just way it shakes out. Trying to get to that Notre Dame at Michigan game at the Big House. I'm not sure if the schedule in my work schedule is going to allow it.
Have you seen that game before?
I have. Yes, yeah, I have. God, that would have been 93. 93. Yeah, 93. And I should be remiss to say I have seen, if you'll allow me, not so much games in the stadiums, but I have been to 3 ACC venues. Now that I think about it, snuck into our station at Fort Bragg. We snuck in one weekend to Wallace Wade at Duke, Keenan Stadium in North Carolina, and I can't remember off the top of my head what Wake Forest is called, but we snuck in empty stadiums, but we snuck into them and walked around those 3 stadiums in the ACC.
Well, but you've been there, though. That's the important thing. Yeah.
One last thing before you go. Have you did the numbers? Do you know how many stadiums you still have to go?
I didn't hear Legion Field on that list. Yeah.
He said Power 5.
Yeah. He thinks USC's in a rough neighborhood.
Yeah.
He's got a surprise coming for him.
I've driven by Legion Field, and when I was heading to Enterprise, Alabama.
Yeah.
So, it looked a little worse for wear. That was.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
All right. So next time we get you on, Sean, you got to have your numbers. Then you got to know how many stadiums you still have to go.
Yeah. You got to get that together.
I will do a tabulation, but certainly Auburn and Alabama are very high up in the priority list.
Fuck Jordan here.
For the SEC, as well as Tennessee. I know that doesn't ring true for you, but
go to a Buffalo Wild Wings it's in just some nondescript shopping center, and they go stand out in the grassy area next to the Buffalo Wild Wings, and you're pretty much going to get Jordan Hare. Just the televisions are a little smaller.
I've always heard that Oxford, Mississippi is a great place to visit.
The Grove and Ole Miss would be definitely high up on the list. The nice thing about the Notre Dame ACC kind of thing, I think not this fall, but the next, we have a trip to Florida State, so I'm looking to knock that one out.
Everybody in Oxford is a dirty bitch. So
we've never been to Oxford.
Where did we go in Mississippi? We went to one of them.
No, it was Chattanooga where you said everybody.
No. There was we played.
That was Jackson.
Jackson, Mississippi. Okay,
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
All right, Sean, we appreciate it, man.
Bitches, though.
And man, you got a lot of interesting tales. We would have to go 4 hours with you to get to the real meat of it.
No, I understand you guys are on a crunch. It's late over in your neck of the woods, and just appreciate you having me on. And
my anklet's about to go off. I've got to be indoors.
Yeah, Doug has a court
by
thing.
9:05.
Yeah, it's a thing. Yeah.
I'm just fucking with
But I look forward to the ACC preview. We've got 53 days until football kicks off.
God, I can't wait. Oh, my God, I can't wait.
I got one thing to say. Just one.
Good.
Anybody but Clemson.
Gotcha.
Anybody. I don't care who. I don't care if it's Troy. But anybody but Clemson.
I agree with that. I agree with that sentiment. Dane Kelly, that one's for you.
On that note, y'all have a good night.
Later.
Thanks to Doug and Shannon. Great to talk to you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.
Later, brother.
Later.
Find Smacking Off the Podcast on Facebook and on YouTube.
Tune in to Smacking Off the Podcast every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. Fuck each and every motherfucker who doesn't.